at one point I saw a white tip like get into something in the coral and start like attacking something in the coral, and all these sharks came flooding in. They were just frenzying, and I just went over them, drifted right over them, and was like, keep looking down, sharks.
A parent wins, an adventure of a lifetime. A global expedition dedicated to collecting stories of environmental and cultural preservation while conducting marine research aboard sailing vessel Resilience.
This whole part of our journey from French Polynesia really all the way on to New Zealand is it's a time for us, at least in this segment, to get to know the area, build relationships, not really film that much with people, but build those relationships so that we have a rapport and just understand where we're going to be, because we knew we'd be coming back to this area and then we could dive in deeper. But that also meant that we were moving quickly. And so before we wanted to, we had already extended our time in the Marquesas by a month. Before we wanted to, we still had to take off. We were sitting on the porch of some friends in Tahanea, and I was explaining that the wind's perfect for us to go, and it's time to go. We sat in silence for a while, and then all of a sudden this wind came just out of nowhere, sort of across the porch, blew up all the leaves, and we all just looked at each other and kind of knew that that was time to go. So we said goodbye and took the dinghy back to Resilience and took off for the Tuamotus. And a 3-day passage, and we sailed straight to Tahanea. We spent about a week in Tahanea in the uninhabited atoll.
It was just us and one other boat for a really long time, and it was beautiful.
And it's an uninhabited atoll, so there's nobody there. It's this like beautiful, untouched land, which is so rare to experience nowadays.
It's a really nice chance just to connect with nature. Have a fire on the beach, watch the sunset every single day, and kind of get into a pace of life, I think, that goes hand in hand with life in the ocean. We had Kyle aboard, who's a friend and was sailing with us for that time. So it's always fun to have, new people aboard, because we get to share these things that we love. Tahanea, because it's uninhabited, it's an incredible place to visit and just experience an atoll just for the environment, just for that natural space in which it is. And the Tuamotus in particular are they're atolls. They're basically rings of islands and reef around a lagoon. And some of them have passes, openings in that reef or that island chain where you can bring the boat in and come through.
Fakarava was incredible. I don't think I've ever seen such dense coral cover. And there's this incredible dive spot called the Wall of Sharks. It's actually a UNESCO heritage site. And God, that dive was so cool. There's so many sharks there. I've never seen so many sharks in my life, just hundreds of them. And the reef was so healthy, and it was just gorgeous.
Those were like the brightest colors of coral I think I've seen to date. We took the dinghy out to the pass, so we were all kind of like taking turns holding onto the dinghy and free diving and coming back up.
We would tie it to ourselves and we'd just snorkel and drift down the pass and enjoy the coral and see the sharks, and I saw a turtle. And then at the end of the pass, it kind of gets intense because the water gets shallower, and so all of a sudden you're like shooting out.
Gliding over coral at a speed that sort of is hard for you to comprehend. You could never swim that fast. The water's just taking you there. And it just feels like you're just sort of shooting through time and space in a way. There's so much to take in. It's unlike anything else.
And at one point I saw a white tip get into something in the coral and start attacking something in the coral, and all these sharks came flooding in to try and get at whatever it was attacking at, and they were just frenzying. And The current was so strong, there was nothing I could do. I just went straight over them. And it was probably only like 10 feet below me that they were like fully frenzying. And I just went over them, drifted right over them, and was like, keep looking down, sharks.
I think that's something I've always hoped that I would get to do in my lifetime, is get to like broaden, expand, and deepen the layers in which you experience life. I'm not even sure how I could put this into words, but imagine that there's like different dimensions, right? And we're experiencing life on this one plane, but it's so much deeper than that. The ocean goes how many feet deep, the sky goes how many feet high. There's just so much more to life than what we're experiencing in a quote unquote like normal day-to-day.
We spent so much time in the water, so much time underwater, that it, you start to feel the impact it has on you, and it's really, I think, therapeutic. Life slows down. You're out of your element. You're underwater. You have to hold your breath, but at the same time, when you spend enough time in the water like that, you start to feel like you're part of that environment that you're swimming in, and it's just a whole other world that you get to immerse yourself in. But it was time to go again and again. The wind was right. And we took off from the Tuamotus with a sunset from Fakarava. It was one overnight passage, and most of it was beautiful, except for maybe a little squall in the middle where we still wonder if we had a water spout or tornado basically over the boat at one point. The wind just coming in all directions in the middle of the night, just rough as can be. But besides that, we were fine and we made it through when we sailed into Moorea.
It's a little bit of a culture shock to go from the Marquesas and the Tuamotus and arrive in the societies, and all of a sudden, you have the whole world at your fingertips again.
There are a lot of sweet things that going back to a place like Moorea. You have a lot more people, you have a lot more action going on. You have people out in va'as practicing and racing. So many times we took the dinghy through the harbor and kids would come up to us, and we know it's happening. They want us to make a wake for them to go surf their va'a. So, as far as community, you do get that in the Society Islands in a wonderful way. And it also just happened to be while we were there that the Huka came in, which we really didn't expect. The Huka is a traditional voyaging canoe with a program that started in Hawaii to bring back maritime culture, navigation, and traditional Polynesian navigation, which is a completely different way at looking at sailing and a different knowledge than what I'd say is like most Western sailing. We were going by in the dinghy one day and we saw these canoes, these va'a is what they're called in French Polynesia, and we got a little closer and I kind of freaked out. I was like, oh, it's a Huka, oh my God. And then there was the Fa'afa'ite, which is the Tahitian canoe, or va'a. We ended up meeting some incredible people that were so warm and welcoming and shared with us a lot about their navigation, their voyaging, their culture on the water. It was a really incredible experience. While they were there, they did have to make it to Tahiti, so we actually ended up helping them cast off from the dock and connect lines so they can get Huka, which doesn't have an engine, off the dock and on its way to its big celebration in Tahiti for its 50th anniversary.
We had a lot of charters during our time in French Polynesia, and so a lot of it was exploring and sharing with these people that we had aboard. It was also really scouting for next year, people that we might want to talk to, places that we might want to come back to, really just preparing for another season there.
And the combination of that and running into the Huka and some of the people we met there was really a nice way to finish our time in French Polynesia before our visas expired and we had to take off for American Samoa. We had a couple of crew members just arrive in Tahiti that we were meeting, and we had a little bit of time there, so we set up a little fun activity for everybody to do. And there's a tradition in a lot of Polynesia, and I first learned about it really in Hawaii, of when friends and loved ones arrive to the islands, you get a lei, and when you depart. But it was really nice to be able to do this reef sort of building and weaving project before we left, because it also meant that Resilience was covered in flowers before we left. And I think it got us all pretty excited to be in this part of the world. I've been spending the better part of 5 years daydreaming of what's past the Society Islands and what's past that part of the water heading westward. I was stopped before from COVID, and now was the opportunity to go explore the Pacific Ocean further than I've ever been.